All right, this is Jiu Jitsu Robot, episode 3. So my dad, he for extra cash, like he'll deliver DoorDash.
Yeah,
and,
right.
Yeah, and he got an order. He delivered it to the house, and I guess it was the wrong address. It was across the street or something. The guy gave him the wrong address. So the owner of the house pulled up, blocked my dad's car in because he pulled in the driveway, and gets out, and he's like, who the hell are you? What are you doing here? Why are you taking pictures? I guess you got to take pictures of the food in front of the house or whatever, right?
Right, yeah.
And so, he's being super aggressive, and my dad is like, hey, I'm DoorDash. I'm dropping off food. And the guy's just not having it. He's still screaming at my dad. My dad's, getting nervous. He's a big guy.
Of course.
And so he's telling me over the phone what happened. And he was like, he's just thinking about what to do. And he's like, he's like talking about how he would, he's thinking about me and how I train jiu-jitsu, and he wished he had that in his back pocket. So he had shown interest to train. But now we're in different cities.
You know what? I got it. And this is a technique you can teach him over the phone. It is the ultimate self-defense move that is, of course, in retrospect, it's clear and, easy to think of. In the moment of some kind of chaos like that, it's amazing how our brain works. It really does kind of short circuit if it's not already, brainwashed as we are to act a certain way in that type of situation, especially if it became violent. But as far as your dad goes, he had made a innocent mistake.
Right.
The guy, it appears from the story, did not genuinely know that. So he was amped up that something nefarious could be going on. So what your dad, said, explaining the situation, is totally cool. That's good. And that, I'm sure that, served to cool it down just a bit. But he could say they could say anything, a person at somebody else's house, and they don't know that that's the truth. So this is the technique that we of course we just want to leave. We want to get out of there, get away from the danger.
But he's blocked in.
But he's blocked in.
Yeah, his car is blocked in by the owner's car. And luckily though, the person who ordered the food ran across the street and convinced the guy that, hey, he was there just delivering food, and then finally the guy let him leave.
And at this time, did your dad understand that he was in fact at the wrong house and the right house was right there?
Yeah, they figured it out at that point, and I think my dad just called the police after that, just to kind of he was flustered about it. He didn't like being threatened by the guy, because the guy didn't say he was gonna do anything specific to him, but it was just the guy acted like he might punch him at any point.
Oh man, that stinks for your dad that happened, because there's no there's no reason to get that fired up. If there was indeed a robber or somebody with a weapon there, then you do whatever you have to stay safe. But he's clearly not presenting a weapon or getting crazy back with the guy.
No.
So it sucks that the guy did him that way when he was trying to stay cool. As far as the technique goes, like I said, we want to leave and get away from there, but we're locked in. So to make it clear to the guy that he's in the right, you're in the wrong. He's correct, you're wrong, and you are very apologetic for your mistake, and you don't have a problem telling him, my bad. Sir, I'm so sorry. I'm here to deliver an order, and I've got the wrong address. Uh, I believe the right one is right here, and I can show you on my phone. But really, I would, I would appreciate it if you stay right where you are and allow me to get back in my car, move your car, and let me leave. So you literally ask the person, please let me leave. If they still won't let you leave, then you can go further down the road of, this is where the division will happen between a person that has a weapon or jujitsu, or a person that has nothing and believes that the other person does, or that they're big enough to harm them badly. That at this point, the guy is saying, no, he's not going to let you leave. Then you tell them straight, sir, I understand that you're upset. I'm going to gather my stuff up, whatever this order, and I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to leave. And I would really appreciate it if you move your car and get out of my way. So you raise the bar of, with your tone and with your confidence. That's the division. You will not have tone and confidence if not for a weapon or jujitsu, unless it's completely false, acting. But for him specifically, making it clear to the person that they are in the right and you are sorry for your mistake. It doesn't even have to be true. You could know for 100% fact that guy is wrong. He's being an a-hole. And this is totally messed up. I'm innocent. And he's being a bully. Well, your first route to victory is a word victory, a victory of words, and telling them that they're the champ. Basically, you won in a respectful way that you genuinely put across that I'm so sorry.
Right.
I'll get out of here. This is totally my mistake, and I would be angry if I was in your shoes. And,
Well, what do you do if they continue with the aggression? Like, this guy had to be convinced. He's yelling at my dad until this other person came up. It's like, no, 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 no. He's just delivering my food. He got the wrong address, and they had to, they're both showing him on their phones, like, hey, I got, this is the address I have. It was a mistake. Hey, no, I put down the wrong address. Both him and this other guy, and the guy's still like steaming mad, even when he says, even when he, moves his car, and he's kind of,
sure.
you know, yelling, screaming the entire time, like.
So this is the reason that your dad and every guy that doesn't train jujitsu and they're whatever, they're out of shape, a little bit older, never done a sport, they're not athletic, they don't have physical like power or physical advantage.
Right.
That's why they need to do jujitsu, because not only does jujitsu deal well, our method or whatever, like our lineage, not only does it deal with the physical aspect once the fight happens, but we have techniques dealing with it, the intimidation approach, with which this was. And I don't know if I've ever hit on that lesson with you, have I?
On the intimidation approach specifically,
Yeah.
you have to refresh my memory.
Well, this is a standalone technique that's taught called the intimidation approach. And there are, of course, every technique has slices. The first is preventing the person from closing the distance all the way to the red zone. The second is, if they don't respect the boundary, then you have to put your hands on them assertively but respectfully. And third is how to carry out the fight from there.
Well, it sounds familiar. I just didn't recall the term.
Um, it probably, I would have taught it. Well, I mean, I can tell you because, we teach everything the same way every time. That I don't have the size to be able to walk up to you and do this because it kind of requires a certain machismo or kind of like an attitude. But the attitude doesn't require size. The attitude requires attitude. So maybe not. But in the way that we teach it, we teach that the guy puffs his chest up and he struts up with an attitude and he wants to get chest to chest. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
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 So we can't let him get that close, of course. And you for your dad, this is Gracie Jiu Jitsu. This is it. And as far as what he should do, that's a dang good question. And there's a lot of techniques that would answer that we would need to, put him on the mat and show him, starting standing with the blah, 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 back and forth, not back and forth, the fourth. And
You're managing the distance, right? Like this would
that's it.
be the 2 arm lengths away until it's time to close the distance. If they either they rush in or
They just don't go away.
yeah, at some point you can't just back up like 2 blocks while they're continuing to come forward and you're backing up the entire time. I would say
Yeah.
I would say, you back up just a few steps and they're still coming forward. Like it's time for a kick or, you're closing the distance and getting a clink.
Yeah, that's a clinch, another couple of techniques. Clinch with aggressive opponent or clinch with conservative opponent. Whether the person is moving forward, doesn't necessarily make it aggressive opponent. It's their desire to hit you or to, close the distance to do damage of some kind. If they're merely moving forward, they're just not retreating. You know what I mean? It still would be a variation of the conservative opponent. But one thing that I heard that I wanted to hit on, I agree. You cannot keep just back, 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 back. You're creating that pattern that is absurd by that point. If you're backing indefinitely, and it's not also reasonable. Eventually you're going to run into something, and that's another reason that you can't just keep going until your back hits something and then you have nowhere to go. You can flee if need be, just run if there's a crowd of people, 100 yards away or whatever, far enough where they can't necessarily hear you scream or see you, but you can, or well, I mean, if you see them, I guess they can see you, but you can get to safety if you run. Then run.
Well, what if you're my dad and this is a young athletic person that he can't outrun?
Did the guy prevent him from getting into his car?
No. He could have retreated to the car.
So he should have gotten in the car and called the police
There you
and
go.
told the guy through the window, sir, I don't have anything in my hands. I don't have any weapons. This was a mistake. I'm so sorry. I've called the police just to confirm that everything is fine here. I want you to be safe and to understand that I mean no harm. And I've called the police to confirm that is true. So if you don't mind, if you will wait on the police and they will be here to mitigate this.
Yeah.
And you know,
Yeah.
and so you've told him everything that's actually going on respectfully and from a safe spot. Of course he could completely go crazy, punch in the window or pull a gun or whatever.
Certainly.
And
Yeah.
in that case, you've wound up in some shit, because this is a rare situation. Uh, for us, I guess in Brazil, there was a whole lot more stick ups and all kind of stuff like that. So there are techniques, but if it's gone to this length where the guy's breaking your window, or holding you there at gunpoint, it doesn't need to be a fight. You don't, at that point, your goal is to survive, and whatever they request, as long as it's not your life, you give it to them. You can even say, like, dude, man, not dude, sir, here's my wallet, here's my phone, you can have my car. uh, I just don't want to be hurt. I don't want there to be a fight. You win. I can't fight you. You are physically superior, and I don't want to fight. Even if you can win that fight, and you can easily use jiu-jitsu to defeat them, and no, they don't have a weapon, there's still nothing wrong with telling them, you win. I don't want to fight. Because that is true too.
Well,
But
that
if,
kind of makes me think. I maybe this wasn't about, because I think my dad was able to get out of that situation. And, he called the police, and he just talked to him, and this guy didn't do anything illegal. He just yelled at my dad basically, right, and was menacing. But I think the main thing, and the main reason why my dad was like, I want to learn jujitsu, is he didn't want to feel powerless. He didn't want to
yes,
feel, yeah, yeah. He didn't want to feel like, man, this other guy intimidated me, and I was genuinely intimidated because he's younger, bigger, stronger, whatever the case is.
he felt the full weight of the natural selection that happens in nature when a larger animal bites the throat out of a smaller animal. He felt that, like that million years of violence and domination. He felt that in the span of whatever 2-3 minutes, and he didn't even need to feel the physical, like sensations. He just understood in that moment that I'm not the strong one here, and that there's really nothing I could do if this went south. And that put it that in that context, which is reality, and you need to deliver reality. You don't need to sugarcoat that. No, you might have landed a good punch, and maybe you're still in decent shape. And no, if the guy was younger in better shape, he would have beat your dad up. He would
Yeah.
have beat my dad up. He would, you know, no doubt.
He would
And
have beat us up if we were untrained.
for sure, oh, definitely me for sure. You would have a good chance. But I didn't have a. But that's a whole other story. You have a big brother that is uh, hell on wheels, really, to wrestle with, and you've done that plenty in your life, and so you had a decent training partner to kind of give you some experience with
It,
closeness
it's
of
funny.
that.
It's funny because we say big brother. He's the younger brother, but he is in
That's right.
fact bigger
Yeah,
and
that's
stronger.
right. Your big younger brother, and yeah, he is a physical specimen that, I guess, if you look at him and know this is what, like the world's strongest man, they don't look
Hmm.
like bodybuilders. They look like him, and
Yeah, he looks like he could pick up like 800 pounds.
he looks like if he needed to move a transmission, that he could do it. And I believe that he could. He's helped me several times with stuff like that. But the being in that spot of, certainty that in this situation, if that person chose to hurt me or kill me, if they wanted to, I couldn't stop them. That's a heck of a situation to be in, and we don't even feel that in our day-to-day lives.
Well,
Do you ever think that? Not. I'm sorry to cut you off, but
no, no, go ahead.
not even with jujitsu. but just in your day-to-day life, we don't normally get in situations where we are certain that we could die if a person chose to kill us.
It's very rare that you would run into a situation now where you'd feel that way.
Yeah, yeah,
Usually, the people that have the ability to do that to me are usually generally really nice guys, and they're teaching me.
yeah. That's for for us as jiu-jitsu guys, that is the case. Anybody that can pose like a real threat is probably a long time jiu-jitsu hardened, humble student of the art. And they're not usually going to be picking fights with us.
No, and the only time I've run into like potential danger is like probably I think the last time was sitting at uh ADCC with the Buzzard, and I'm sitting next to this older but big presumably black belt gym owner, because I think the Buzzard had chatted with him a little bit, but it's one of those deals where it's like the seats are small, and this guy's like, "I'm not gonna scoot over at all. Like, go
Right,
f yourself," like,
of course.
and I'm just like kind of leaning like over, hanging on the Buzzard side, and eventually I was like, "Hey Nick, switch seats with me." And then I made a joke with I don't remember his name, but I made a joke with the black belt. I was like, "Hey, yeah, he's much smaller. He can fit in between us." And then then he told the joke. He's like something about like, "Oh, we're gonna squish the Buzzard because we're big guys and he's sitting in between us," or something like that. But we had a laugh, and it got diffused. But this dude was not fixing to give up 1 inch of armrest space to me, and he was. It was you could just feel the energy, like he was like, "F you."
Yeah, yeah. He wasn't intimidated by you at all. And that energy was not a positive energy, because there's a positive energy of not being intimidated, and a negative one that is kind of like, it just feels like the person is, every word that they say is disrespectful, or there's some kind of twist on everything that they do or say.
Well, I'm gonna remember it forever, man. And I know, like, you know, um, it ended up being okay, but I mean that shit like that bugs me.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It bugs me.
And that's a type of deal right there, where the the history of our ancestors, our jujitsu ancestors, demands a different approach, not a street approach, because that guy has a certain skill set, most likely no weapon, most likely he would try to dominate you with the techniques, and with that being the case, for him to be acting like that as a representative of jujitsu has to be put into check. And especially if you had chosen, and I'm not disagreeing with what you did, because it worked. And there's 20 different ways to skin a cat, as they say, or whatever the case may be. There's many different ways to defuse the bomb, but there are certain scenarios where it has to be put into check. And if y'all had chosen to move altogether, like 30 feet away, and somebody else to sit there, it would be almost like approving of that behavior, as long as it's not directed at you. And if he's doing that to you, big guy, confident, then he's definitely doing it to small guys that are not confident. So doesn't matter about belt rank. He's a bully. And something like that would be the words would have to be carefully crafted so as to put him into check, but not to outright say and I'll kick your ass right now if you don't do it. But something along the lines of, and we're not calling him sir. You say, you know, I know you're probably a black belt or you outrank me and you feel like you have some kind of superiority over me. And that well might be the case. But what you're doing right now is messed up. You need to quit. You have made this whole experience miserable for me. We haven't been able to pay attention like we want to. We want to learn something. We want to enjoy the show. And you're up here acting like a bully. And nobody, I bet, nobody is willing to tell your big ass that because you are aggressive or you have this vibe that you have a chip on your shoulder. And I don't know you from Adam, but I know that you have made this uncomfortable, that you have literally pushed your weight around and shown no respect to the human being next to you. And you need to stop. So I'm telling you, stop it. Now, let's enjoy the show.
I
And
wonder
that's it.
what would have happened if I would have spoke to him about it at all, or even acknowledged. Like he knew what he was doing, and he knew
Sure.
that I was not comfortable in my seat, but
He would have
I didn't say nothing.
he would have either, bounced back harder, or he would have bounced in the other direction and been like, oh, I didn't have any idea that, I was just having a good time, whatever, that he, in reality, he's just naive, or he doesn't understand. This is how you're coming off. That, you might do him a favor telling him that. The other thing is that he knows for a fact that he is a bully, that his vibe is, like a superior, and that he does not respect anybody, even the guy sitting next to him, the space that guy, the bubble that guy has, that he owns, as a free person. No respect for it, for that boundary. And in that case, then you say, and he bounces back harder. He's like, dude, I'm not, F you. I ain't doing nothing. If you don't like it, move, and you can take your girlfriend with you, which was the buzzard. I'm just thinking really nasty. And then you say, hey, listen, this guy, this little buzzard next to me can kick your ass as easy as I can. And if you keep this up, you're going to find out firsthand.
The buzzard for sure would have fought him.
He would have fought him for sure.
He will take on anybody.
Isn't that unbelievable? Like, that, it said a lot that this guy will fight anybody. We have seen the buzzard fight properly, like, high level big guys.
I forget the name. He fought like a world class. I would say he would had a jiu jitsu match against a world class grappler here recently, like a few months ago,
Yes, yes.
and
And
he thought it was a blast. He was like, "Oh, it was awesome,
that was his
zero hesitation."
yeah, his attitude at Europa. Good attitude. He's like, there's two guys in the bracket with me included. That means I came in second.
Yeah, yeah.
So
No,
he's
it was a
like
great
all
outlook.
I really like learn. I mean, I learned that whole thing, spin it for the win. That's what happened with Helio and Kimura and those fights. He lost, so they had to. How do we win from this? And they made like what is the word? That's part of their magic, is that even if you win, you didn't really win. Like, I'll find a way to still win. And dang, it's just a frustrating opponent that even I know, even if I beat you, that I really lost. It's just that's the buzzard's, like, true belief in himself, is that there's no way you can beat me. I will win. And then he creates what the win is.
He's living the dream life. Like he works at a jiu-jitsu gym and he stays at the gym. Like he has a place to sleep, and then I think he has a part-time job on top of that to like just pay for like his car payment and expenses. And right now he's on vacation in California. I think he said he was training at a Gracie gym. I think with health is what he said.
He's always down there with, I mean,
He loves it there. He loves it in Florida where he trains primarily. And yeah, he's like, hey, I'm gonna get ready for trials. It's like I want to do another ADCC Open. Like he's all about it. He's excited. He's like,
what a,
I want to do absolute. He's 120 pounds. He's like, I want to sign up for absolute.
and for the people that maybe are not jujitsu people, that means that he wants to fight the biggest possible person there.
Anybody and
And,
everybody.
and this guy, if you've ever seen a buzzard, is shaped about that same size, and he and that's kind of like his strategy as well. Just clean up the bones of the carcass that is left, in front of him after being unable to cause any distress to him. The truest form of jujitsu. And he's about 100 and what, 20 pounds?
120.
Small, very frail. He's got these medical challenges that were challenges before he found jujitsu, and a physical, uh, what is the word? Almost on the scale of no physical prowess. So the wind could almost blow this guy over, but he's one of the people in this world that found jujitsu and realized this one thing not only makes me equal physically to everybody else, it makes me superior physically to everybody else. So he lived his whole life believing that he was physically inferior, and then came to terms with the fact that at this point, not a whole lot of people could just outright beat him up.
Well, that reminds me of a story. We used to love to watch the fights at Buffalo Wild Wings, and
Right.
I think you watched when Nate uh choked Connor out with him
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
same one, right? So, but I was with him at that time, and you weren't with us. And there was a guy up there that had the buzzard's really nice. Like he's let he would let all of his friends like come sleep on his couch.
Yeah.
He,
Which he did.
yeah, he gave you the shirt off his back, and he let this guy stay at his house, and this guy pretty much just took advantage of him, right?
Sure.
And I think he had like a key card or something like that, and the buzzard had asked for it back politely, and so Nick walks up to him and he's like, "Hey man, did you bring that key card?" And the guy was like, I think he said he threw it out the window or forgot it or something. I forgot what he said, but he pissed Nick off, and Nick got in his face. And
Oh,
this guy was so scared of Nick that he was like, he said like he was gonna stab him. He didn't want to fight Nick in a fair fight. He was gonna stab Nick like he was because I'm sitting at the table with him. Nick's sitting at another table. I don't know how I got sent to the second
to the,
table because
yeah.
being such good friends with Nick. But for some reason, I'm at this other table, and this guy's like, "Well, I'm just gonna stab him." And his girlfriend's there, and she's like, "Why would you stab him? Don't stab him." But this guy's like afraid of Nick. He trained a little bit with us. He had went to I think I think it was a Gracie Baja that because
Yeah.
Nick knows everybody. He knew the instructor. He came train
Literally.
with us and got the breaks beat off of him by a female. Actually, there was like a female purple belt that just smashed it,
Nice.
and which is kind of hilarious because so he knows like Nick knows jujitsu and all these jujitsu people are mopping the floor with me,
And
and
he's, yeah.
he's like, hey, Nick is gonna whoop my ass, so I have to stab him.
Yeah. What choice do I have? You know, and when you told me that, of course you told me before, I thought, I know exactly why the guy immediately went to, I'm going to have to use a weapon. And on top of knowing that Nick is the buzzard, that Nick is a trained jiu-jitsu fighter, absolutely he is. He also, I wasn't even there, but I know, because I know him, that he was talking to him in such a way that it was very clear that he was serious, and that it was almost like talking to him dad to son.
Yeah.
And he could feel that. He could feel like, why is this guy not? I mean, he must have a gun to be able to talk to me like this. And that made him want to step it up.
That level of confidence.
That level of confidence. You either got a gun, or you literally, legitimately could beat me up right now, and you know it.
And I would love for my dad to have that feeling, feel like Nick does. Like Nick has the confidence.
It is the embodiment of the power of jiu-jitsu. That this guy, I wish we could show, like, everybody exactly who we're talking about. And he's a fantastic,
We'll
great
post
guy.
his picture on the video version of this.
Yes. And like the jiu-jitsu people out there, I guarantee you at least 80% of them know him some way.
Yeah, exactly. He's known from coast to coast.
I mean, it's unreal. The big time people, if you were to say, hey, you know what, Nick, can we say his name, his whole name?
Sure, why not? He's famous.
Yeah. You say, I see you're friends with Nick Cooley on Facebook. He's like, yeah, Nick came up to train for a week and we hung out and went fishing. Like, we're talking about known jiu-jitsu celebrity people. And I mean, I have talked to so many people, and I like to always, at some point, especially if I know that they have him on Facebook or that he's mentioned them in the past, that I'm like, hey, Nick. And I mean, probably 99, or every time, I've never heard anybody say, no, I don't know who that is. They're like, yeah, of course. He trained with me for a couple days, and he's like wanting to work on the X guard, or like he's always trying to perfect something and working with some amazing jiu-jitsu person. And if he tells you he knows them, it's a fact. It's the truth.
And he probably
And
got a picture.
yes, he's trained with Hickson, trained with everybody, Half, the Diaz brothers, right?
I think he's just met them. I don't think he's trained with the Diaz brothers. He saw them at an event. But
well, at least, oh yeah, he certainly did that because Nick Diaz signed his belt. I guarantee you, from that conversation, at least that just meeting, that little 5 minutes, that Nick made an impression on him.
Well, he's definitely trained with some Cesar Gracie guys before, though. I know that for a fact. But
for a fact.
For a fact.
And his jiu-jitsu ability is different than a lot of the guys, but I would put it more in the category of Helio Gracie. It's a defensive puzzle that is difficult to resolve. And in time, that puzzle, as you try to slowly make your way through it, you'll notice that he's not using any energy at all. And you are, in fact, the one that's working. That's incredible. As long as that continues, at some point will come the that line where you can't continue, and he will get you. Just because he can't do it in like 6 minutes with a fully juiced big guy doesn't mean anything. Because a little guy like that, with physical challenges, he wouldn't have a chance against anybody. Everybody has a physical superiority. And the fact that none of those people could just walk up and make him say, I give up. It's going to take forever. And if you do catch him, then you did some pretty freaking good stuff.
Oh yeah, his defense is really what he's known for.
It's tight and heavy, like awkwardly heavy, which is unreal. 120 pounds. And if he gets into like the right side control or something like that, he just doesn't go anywhere. It's amazing. And it makes me recall that time that he caught me in the head and arm choke. Do you remember me telling you about that?
Yeah, you said it was pretty brutal, right?
Yeah, like my head almost popped off. Genuinely, the pressure was unbearable. There was also no space. It does honestly, truthfully, like my hand to God, rank among the top 5 tightest, like well executed techniques that have ever been done against me. And it was like legitimately, he got me. I, and the funny part was like, I probably said this afterwards. I was like, Nick, man, where the heck did you learn that? He's like, you taught me.
That's the
Like,
best part.
that's a good technique. I'm glad I taught it to you if that's the case. Because, dang, I mean, it's unreal, man. I couldn't move a muscle. You know how the head and arm choke is. They're not controlling your body. So his ability to use these techniques is extraordinary. It's because he hasn't like given up on it. He just keeps doing it, and there's no way to not improve.
Yeah,
And
he just keeps making these improvements because he's in the gym all the time. I
all
talked to him. I talked to him. He's like, "Oh yeah, I trained this morning, but gonna go train later today." You know, or on the rare occasion, like he takes a day off, he's like, "Hey, I'm just gonna rest up, let my body, recover." But yeah, usually he's like, "Oh yeah, train." Either he's going to train later today, or he's already trained.
what I get is sometimes that will he'll be like, "Hey man, what's up?" Text or whatever, and I'll message him back, and then an hour later or something, he'll say, "Hey, I'll text you back when I get out of class." So he's like either always just about to go, he's in class, or he just got out of class. 24 hours a day.
Oh yeah.
Now, one thing I wanted to bring up, um, and aside from that, on our next podcast, I wanted to talk about the gold medal match guy and explain what that was about and about what happened to challenge matches. Um, the last one out that I have any knowledge of was 2010, and oddly enough, I was a participant in that
Oh.
challenge match. That's the guy with the freckles.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but we'll talk about that next time. But one thing that my brother brought up to me that is I think just a quick little topic of discussion, that jujitsu practice and performance, the result of that, the accrued damage, is so far down on the scale compared to the damage that one would take with a career of boxing or stand up in general, where they have to take damage to the head, that this is one of the best um, like selling points of jiu-jitsu, is that you can get an excellent level of ability and personal skill without taking damage really of any kind. Maybe I hurt my hand, like my neck was sore a couple times, elbow in the face, but these are rare, pretty rare, and it kind of, that's again the guys matching our energy. So if we're chilled out, a lot of times they're chilled out. But just the fact that you can practice jujitsu for your whole life if you do it the right way and never take any damage, and the whole thing is about dealing with people that want to cause damage, that's an amazing point to be brought up, right?
Oh yeah, because you can be still very durable if you're not training like a maniac and maybe yanking and jerking something the wrong way.
Yeah. If you're I mean,
Don't
everybody can.
spaz.
What's that?
Don't like spaz out and like do something that isn't technical.
Yes. That causes both of us to be at risk. You know, the spazzer and the spazzy. And the opposite of that is going back to the buzzard is the buzzard. That there's zero spaz, no unnecessary movements whatsoever. And that's how you stay safe. And that's how you roll for, like just keep training forever. And that's our goal, right? Because jujitsu adds so much to everything. And we can teach people until the day we die, really. And that's so fulfilling. And the fact that we really never get hurt doing it is is just a fantastic byproduct or side effect that we experience. That it's so good and effective that because of the way that it's structured, it's safe, but also the techniques that we learn serve to protect us as well. So there's not in stand up there is a it's a contest of who hurts who more, right? And our deal is
Yeah,
almost the opposite. Who hurts who less is what we're looking for.
we're not trying to knock people out and not get knocked out. We're just trying to not get knocked out.
Yeah, and then take up the scraps where they may be, wherever they may be. But you know, point being the fact that we can do that, and the proof is in the pudding. You don't see any jujitsu guys that have brain damage from jujitsu. You don't see any jujitsu guys that have taken so much damage that their mind is affected. Of course, there's jujitsu guys with bad backs and bad necks, arthritis,
Bad knees.
bad knees, but these are things that are probably going to happen anyway, and it's not like they're that much worse. And that's a small price to pay for the effectiveness, the ability to teach. The whole thing wound up into uh, the whole thing bundled together. It's worth it. And I haven't had that many injuries, and the ones that I have had were quickly disposed of. And just on a side final thing, one of the nicest, most painful injuries in my jiu-jitsu career is the time that like an idiot, that I asked you to wrist lock me.
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah,
You,
dog.
you were like, you're okay in the moment because we were kind of working out like a defense or an escape,
Yep.
and you're like, hey, no, 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 like go, like give me the mustard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, and then
Pop, pop.
it just popped. Yeah.
Yeah, loud like a dang firecracker.
And then immediately I let go as soon as like it gave way because that was like not the
Admiral.
intention at all. I literally thought you were because you were about to slip it. In fact,
Well, that was the goal, but it was not in the cards. The way out that day was to tap, and you shouldn't do stuff like something that can hurt you for weeks just to kind of see what's going to happen. Take a choke, take a something along those lines, and get improve your defense, and build up your comfort there. But you don't need to go into full on submissions and then say, okay, now go squeeze as hard as you can. That's a dumb move. And
we learned a valuable lesson, and like you said, chokes you can play around with that for a little bit. I tried to hang on, even after the point like where hey you're starting to pass out,
mm-hmm.
to play with a little bit, but it wasn't a joint, that could be injured.
And I seem to remember you being able to hold out from being choked for a very long time.
It's surprising. It was surprising. Like some things that I had like tapped to before it I was able to like some of our training partners abandoned the choke because they're like, "Huh, this worked before. It's not working right now. Do I got it in right?" And it was probably just as tight, but I was able to like said, "Okay, I'm not going to tap. I'm either going to pass out or I'm going to escape." And then I was able to escape.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy when you don't give yourself another option, how far your will, and maybe not your will, how far your body will actually go when you don't give it another option.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Did I that day, one day I feel like that you asked me to get in on the choking. Did that happen?
Yeah. 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 And I did feel it like I almost passed out, and I luckily I tapped at the last second,
Mm,
but
uh,
it was it was I don't know, it was an interesting experience because I was like, okay, I'm about to pass out, like I was first I was like gonna let myself pass out,
yeah,
but yeah, it was interesting playing with that, but I don't know that maybe there's some like brain damage at play, but
through choke.
I mean through a choke, I mean I'm sure like you lose some brain cells being choked unconscious, I'm sure.
Maybe, maybe, but it's definitely not apparent enough to be a known thing and something that dudes are like, hey, y'all, don't choke each other but once today because you're gonna get brain damage. Nothing like that. It's just I agree. I'm sure that passing out or cutting off blood flow to the brain causes something, but I don't know what it is. But it can't be good. Um, so of course you want to avoid that as much as you can, as much as possible. Um, but yeah, I was wondering about that. I remember the whole event, and I thought that I don't remember what the thing was, but I remember that everybody was improperly trying to choke you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think everybody got a shot,
Right.
and I was like, okay, get it fully locked in, and then I'm gonna try to escape.
Did anybody else finish it?
I think out of all the people we trained with, because there was a few that didn't participate.
Hmm,
But it was mostly a lot of beginners, and then I want to say there was a couple. I think there was a couple blue belts too, but it was like all the white belts got invited to choke me unconscious or escape.
right.
But I don't think there was anybody. There was not any upper belts that either were around or uh
Or wanted to get
participated. Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure who was on the roster, as far as who was there when we were doing that though.
yeah, and that could all be kind of hit to their ego if they were able to full on lock the choke and it was ineffective.
Sure, because we were working escapes. So I was like, hey, if it's fully locked in, what do I do? And then we were going over those escapes.
But the answer is nobody else was able to finish.
Not that I recall. I don't think so. No, I don't think anybody did.
I thought that was the case.
Yeah.
And that's why that the chokes were being improperly committed. And everybody knows kind of like how a choke goes. But if the person is intent, like I'm gonna tap, I'm gonna go to sleep, or if this is not legit, I'm not gonna tap, then you better be pretty sharp. You better be doing it like technically accurately, or it's gonna be exposed. The technique will be exposed.
And honestly, I
Thank
thought I was gonna pass out. I think I was like, okay, I'm about to. This is the last second I have. Let me tap out. But I think since we trained with each other, we know each other pretty well.
definitely.
Yeah, I was able to tap out in time because I thought I was like, okay, I'm gonna about to attempt it and pass out, but luckily that wasn't the case.
Yeah, we both know before you're to that point, when you're about to be there, we both have the same realization. So, which you would have if you were choking me as well,
Yeah.
because you know how I act and react to every little thing, really. And if all of a sudden that changed, then especially you were choking me, and all of a sudden I started to react differently, then you would say something's up with the brain here.
But I'd have to be able to take your back if I was going to attempt such a move, and I don't think I've ever been able to take your back. So
Mm,
maybe one day.
you probably have you've taken the submissions for sure, but I'm sure that I have had you on my back at some point because
If it
your
was,
back,
it was brief.
well, your back taking skills, of course, you've you've trained that, you've trained all the transitional techniques to very sharp. So it wouldn't surprise me, but if not, then I'm definitely proud of that.
Well, I guess this is episode 3 in the books.
Cool, cool. Man, it was a long one too.
Well, we had
That
a little bit of the other one, to finish off. So I think we're at like an hour and hour and a half total. So probably 20 minutes on the other one and about another hour for this one. So they're turning out to be about an hour long. So,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I'll get this one uploaded so you can hear the rough draft, and then we'll go from there. Hopefully, I plan on like getting these edited and posted with like I think initially just some artwork.
Right. Yeah,
And
yeah.
Noah is thinking, and just from me and him talking, and I was thinking like data inspired theme for the robot, for the android.
Yes.
We just
Yes.
we just haven't figured out like what I'm not sure what his he's gonna draw up one for me, and I'm gonna take a look at it. So of course I'll send it your way as soon as like he's got a concept.
That's perfect because just as a final thought, the Jiu Jitsu robot, while it is a machine, it also has to have that human side, that combination. And because there's a spirituality almost to jujitsu that would be missed out on if it was just machine form. And so, Android, jujitsu robot, dot, 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 aka the Android, I guess.
There you go. There you go. I like it. And I didn't realize there's so many similarities between you and Data.
Well, those certainly the ones that you sent today.
Yeah. I was like, wait a minute. He loves cats and he plays the guitar.
We're basically the same person.
And Noah said you kind of look like the actor.
Dude, I thought that when you sent me the first video, I was like, yeah, I mean, I can see that you put my face in there, and I was like, whoa, wait, 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 no, that's the guy. That's not me. It's the big nose that big old nose that we both have. That it kind of skews the identification or identificate. What is the word? Identifiable ability. I don't know what the word is.
Right. It's just similar, facial features, right?
Features, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool.
All right, man. I am down to do another episode whenever you are ready. So just let me know, okay?
Cool. We'll do it.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
All right, you too.